Hey everyone, Maddie here. Welcome to my apartment. I want to explore my oven with you today. You've probably seen my apartment in some of my videos, but this is where I do all of my baking and filming. This corner over here is where I film all my videos. Then I usually have my living room space as prep, and then my oven is over there in my actual kitchen. Though this kitchen setup looks pretty nice, this oven is actually terrible. It has very few settings. It is never the right temperature. It fluctuates really intensely. So I just want to walk you through a couple different strategies that I have found in the last year to help me make perfect macarons in this less than perfect oven. While all of these strategies might not work exactly the same for you, I really want to show you that you do not need the best of the best oven to be really successful with your bakes. You just need to figure out all the quirks, and it's not necessarily going to change whether you have like the perfect macaron recipe. You can have so many different great macaron recipes that might not be successful if you don't understand your temperamental oven. So yeah, let's just explore that today, and hopefully it's helpful for you.
All right, welcome to my baking corner. I'm going to take you through a batch of macarons in my kitchen here in Portland. I'm just going to give you a rough timeline of what I do, how I do it to get around my really difficult and frustrating oven situation. So as you can see, I do not have convection setting on this oven. I just basically have bake. So I'm starting off here in the morning. I've got all the stuff I need for my mac set up. My oven is at 0. I haven't turned it on yet. Now when I'm ready to go, I'm going to turn it on hotter than I want it to be. So I'm turning it to 310 Fahrenheit. Usually I prefer to have my oven between like 290 and 300 Fahrenheit. Now I'm going to set a 30-minute timer on my microwave because my oven lies to me. Usually after about 10 or 15 minutes, it'll give a little jingle, say it's ready, it's at the heat you programmed it. Lies. As you can see here from my oven thermometers, it is way cooler than 310. It's coming in at like 240. So around this time is when I start making my batch of macarons. It usually takes me around 20 minutes to whip up a batch of macarons. If it's a larger batch, it could take 30-40 minutes, but this is a really small batch. Usually after about 15 minutes, I'm at the point my meringue is done. The oven has been warming up now for about 25 minutes. Again, it's cooler than what I've set it to, but it's right around the area that I want it to be for my actual macaron bake. I'm still going to keep it at that higher temperature though for the full 30 minutes, really give it its best chance to heat up. I'm going to continue on. Usually at this point, I'm adding in my dry ingredients, I'm folding, I'm macronaging. People have been mind boggled. I've been sharing on Instagram recently that I sometimes macronage in my mixer, which you can. I generally recommend people don't do that for their first bakes, but you absolutely can do it that way if you want to. So once I've finished macronaging my macaron batter, I'll get it into my piping bag and then check in with my oven one last time. So my timer's gone off. It's been 30 minutes. Let's get in here. Again, it's set to 310. It is still not 310, but it's just under 300 degrees. So this is a pretty good spot as I'm going in about to pipe my macaron shells. At this point though, I am going to drop down the heat to just around exactly where I want the temperature to be. At that point, again, I'm finishing up my macaron batter. I'm going to go ahead and pipe my macaron shells. In Portland, depending on the time of year and the bake, what I'm making, sometimes I do the no rest method, sometimes I rest for quite a while. It really depends. You can really go for the method that works best for you. What I really want to show you through this process, especially with checking in on my oven, setting it a bit higher, dropping the temperature, and then monitoring it as my macaron shells rest and then as they bake, is that it is super normal to have to do some oven testing and have to do some trial and error. It if you are experiencing some problems with your macarons, it does not necessarily mean that you are using a bad or poorly created recipe. It is super normal. I mean, sometimes you can have a macaron recipe that will bake so perfectly in a new kitchen, even if it's exactly the same method you used in an old kitchen or with an old oven. But if you move, if you get a new oven, there are a lot of reasons why even the same exact macaron recipe that you have been using, it's tried and true, might not work out perfectly in a different situation under different circumstances with different variables. So the first things that I would recommend, first of all, get an oven thermometer, get 2, get 3, put them different places in your oven and really make sure you know exactly the temperature that is in your oven as it's preheating, when your oven says it's ready, 15-20 minutes after that, an hour after that. Know the temperature of your oven, and is the oven the same temperature throughout the entire oven in all 4 corners. As you get your macarons into the oven, it's also really okay. It's really normal for different macarons in different climates, different recipes, to prefer slightly different temperatures. I think that a really standard place to start is 300 degrees Fahrenheit. However, it might be better to be higher than that temperature. It might be better to be lower than that temperature. And no matter the temperature you end up with, as you can see me doing here, sometimes I also get in there and rotate my pan, even if I've gotten to a method I think is really useful, just to make sure that my macarons are baking really evenly. Some people find that it is the most helpful if they get in there and rotate the trays even 2 or 3 or 4 times during the same bake. Now, after I've had my oven door open and I've been taking out the trays and taking videos of taking out the trays, sometimes my oven will drop drastically. And so I've calculated that time where my oven needs to reheat itself into the resting for some of the macarons as I'm making back-to-back batches. Another thing that my oven does is the temperature spikes a lot of the time while I am baking a batch of macarons, which is why even if my temperature is really consistent sometimes, I really like to open the door and rotate that tray to make sure if it is one of those times when my oven has a temperature spike that I'm helping to release not only some of the humidity, but some of that really hot air, and I can help to drop the temperature a little bit. These tips and tricks might not be exactly right for every single oven and every single kitchen, but in general, getting oven thermometers, doing a lot of testing for exactly the right temperature, and even if you should be changing the temperature in your kitchen during your bake, before your bake, how long to preheat your oven, if you need to have a little break between batches, if you need to be opening up your door, should you be rotating the trays, how much should you either rest or not rest your macaron shells before they go into the oven. These are all very, very normal things to test out as you learn more about your oven and the macaron making process. So even though it is frustrating to make a lot of batches, to do all of these tests, I think it is a really good idea to play around with these different variables like your oven temperature, etc. I hope you enjoyed this little look into my oven and my kitchen and some of the things that I have learned to help me be really successful in this oven and to make macarons constantly on a regular basis, even though I really do not enjoy the oven that I have. If you are in a similar situation, you are not enjoying your oven, it's frustrating to deal with, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, if you need some help navigating what to do next or what to test out, definitely send me a message or leave a comment down below. And although I do not have the most knowledge in the world about different ovens, I am happy to help you try to navigate a tricky macaron situation. And remember, even if you are having a hard time, the variables surrounding the macaron batter itself are not always the reason for a macaron fail. And a macaron fail does not mean necessarily a bad macaron recipe. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I have a bunch of amazing free recipes coming your way soon, so keep your eyes out. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day.